Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Magic Market Watch. Going into the second week of August here, this might as well be known as the summer of market manipulation because we've seen it nonstop week to week. And while it's always been present, I don't think I've seen market manipulation quite this bad, and we'll talk about the top 5 trending cards of the week. As a reminder, I exclusively focus on the market value, not the listing prices, and the listing price average is what you get when you look at the average of a card. The market number is what it's actually selling for. And the first card to look at is Phyrexian Tribute. Now this one isn't super alarming. There has been a buyout for it before. There's a lot of interest in cards like these that are pretty cheap, and you know they're never going to get reprinted. I actually really like this card, and I think when we look at the data, you're going to see that it is pretty organic, the interest in it. A black sorcery that lets you sacrifice 2 creatures to destroy a target artifact. We don't really have artifact removal in black, which makes this super rare. Feed the Swarm was like the first way of dealing with an enchantment in black, so having something like this that can actually do something beyond just killing creatures is pretty special. And I'm going to be doing this more often. I'm just going to go over to tcgplayer.com, look at the recent sales, see if everything checks out, and we're looking at sales from the 9th and the 8th. And I'm seeing a lot more quantity, I'm seeing a lot more sales here. That's not just the same amount, although I will say it looks a bit like manipulation. This is again a reserve list card, you're always going to have some manipulation with its value, but I am seeing it sell quite a bit, $7 and up. What does seem a bit suspicious is the quantity of 10 for $14.98. I don't think that's an actual person spending that much on 10 cards. I think that's a seller trying to manipulate its value. You see 8 of them for $13.48, when it's a lot higher than what other people are buying it for. Like you see the LP on August 8th, $4.53. There's an LP on the 9th, $8.99. There was a near mint on the 8th for $8. There's a lot going on here. This is what I would consider to be mostly organic, but again, there are hints of manipulation. And next we have Nimbus Maze, which is a bit more suspicious because while it is a good card, it's really a sub $2 card. So for it to all of a sudden get up to $4, there's plenty of them out there. I think it's also been in pre-context too. Something's going on here. Again, we're going to check on TCG Player. Now this seller right here, you're going to see moderately played foil, $4.39. That's acceptable. I think that's what a lot of people would probably value their own foil lands if they had a land like this from Iconic Masters, but that's not the issue here. The issue here is how it's being affected when it comes to its non-foil price. So let's look at the sales, the most recent sales, and what instantly stands out, it's when you see quantity of 1, but it's at the same value. So you see a lot of high numbers that are unusually high. Keep in mind, these are not for foils. You do see a distinction there. Lightly played foil going for $4.49. No, the people who are spending $9.88 on August 8th and $9.97, they're not paying for a foil one of these. And you go back on the 7th, you see $9.91, but it's a quantity of 1. And on the 6th, someone also bought it at $9.91. When you have the average person here buying it for about $1, maybe to $2 max, you would have to convince me that multiple people would want to get this for $8 above where it makes sense to buy it. And I just don't believe that. That's why this is market manipulation, because it goes against your own interests to do this if you're just looking to get yourself a Nimbus Maze. I mean, it's not a bad land, it's far from a bad land, but it's not a $10 land. We move on to the next card here, and guess what? It's something else, very fishy, Pongify. It's not a bad card, but it's been reprinted a bunch. This uncommon from Time Spiral Remastered is another card that might be like a $2 card, maybe $3 max. All of a sudden, you see the market value of $11 to $12. Now, some comments that came up on my previous video brought up a very good point. There is a feature when you go to check out on tcgplayer.com that will optimize your cart. Now, I don't know exactly how that works, but people have been telling me that that is why a lot of these larger sellers are looking to manipulate the value of cards they have plenty of in bulk, like Pongify, like even Marionette Master from last week, which, by the way, I do feel a little bad about that because they still don't understand why Marionette Master is trending. I don't get into contact with really anybody in the Magic community. I just keep to myself, and it seems to be working out for me. Almost 40,000 subs. By the way, sub if you haven't already, I appreciate it. But if they don't know what's going on here, I think that's pretty concerning because this is the same exact Marionette Master, and they don't even seem to be making a distinction between the one from Kaladesh and the one from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. And they have the chart here to show you that they are totally different. So if you guys could do me that favor of contacting these people, again, I don't really use social media. I don't use Discord. I don't really communicate with anyone else in the Magic community, but I think this is pretty important. So if you guys do, why not let them know? But again, Pongify, let's look at the sales. And you see here on the page, direct by TCG player near mint, 1238. Again, Pongify by no means is a bad card, but it's not a $12 card. It just isn't. We have better removal and even better removal in blue, by the way. And I don't want to single out a seller here, but Dungeons and Donkeys, you have 8 of these at 1238. I don't know exactly what you're thinking, but I'm sure it's not just them because we've seen several sellers do this. But look at the average price, the average quantity, near mint, moderately played. No one's really going to spend more than $3 on this card if they don't have to. This is the red flag. 1995 on August 7th, you see once, and then once again. Quantity of 1. And then you see earlier on August 7th and August 6th, $29.95, $29.95, and then $29.94. So again, a very large price, 1 quantity. It just doesn't make sense. It's against your own interests. This doesn't happen organically. Of course, this is why the sellers are doing this. They're trying to manipulate the market value because that's what trends, that's what people care about on MTG stocks. They care about what people are actually buying. And since the sellers know that their listing prices are just what they're asking for, and most people don't want to meet what you're asking for, especially if it's $30, what they're doing is they're selling them to an account that they own. So they're selling them to themselves in order for this to trend, in order for this bulk uncommon to trend on MTG stocks, and it's in the top 5 trending for the market. So it's another case of market manipulation by larger sellers. And we get another card here, Sun Titan from Commander 2015. This is, again, another card that's been reprinted into oblivion. It used to have some value back when it was originally in, Core Set 2011? But it's been in every pre-con deck ever since. It's just the perfect bulk mythic. Again, not a bad card, but no one wants to spend an astronomical amount of money on this, which does make it trend. So just looking at the chart, was it worth something at some point? Sure. But for it to all of a sudden go straight up, we have to again look at the TCGplayer.com data. We have to make sure that this checks out. And we see a seller here, Goldie TCGs. This is another direct by TCG player card. Again, for those of you who are unaware, this is a feature on the site where if you buy a card that is from direct and it has this blue lightning bolt thing on it, that means if you buy the card and your card is filled with a lot of cards from direct by TCG player, it doesn't matter if your cart has also cards from several different sellers. They will all come in one package. So you don't have to worry about one package getting lost and having to keep track of like hundreds of different cards. This feature does make that easy. So it also leads you to believe that this is an honest listing. As I said, there's nothing really criminal about doing this. Scalping has been around forever. You can scalp for whatever price you want to. It's just very scummy. Looking at the current sales, we see the same exact thing. Quantity of 1, $6 or $5.99, 3 times here on August 8th and then August 6th. When everyone else is spending no more than $3 on the card, that is very suspicious to all of a sudden see, well, quantity of 1. Now, I did catch this one pretty early, but I think this is going to continue. You're going to see people spending this amount multiple times. And again, they're not doing this for every Sun Titan. They're doing this with the same Sun Titan from Commander 2015. Now, I tried to look at the seller page for Goldie TCGs, and I ended up getting this page. Oops, sorry, but that page does not exist on our site. I don't know what this means. Maybe they deleted them after they were done their little scheme. I don't know. But let's look at the most expensive listings. And this is a fun way to catch the usual suspects because we see, you might remember last save point from last week when I talked about them selling, was that card Colossal Majesty, the enchantment? Nothing special, this bulk uncommon, but they were selling it heavily played, moderately played, lightly played, for pretty much all the same exact price. But it had an insane premium and they were not changing the price depending on the condition. And it looks like they're doing this again, but with Sun Titan from Commander 2015. Because I looked at the previous page and we see them doing it here. Heavily played, $4.99. Moderately played, $4.99. Lightly played, $4.99. And of course we see the Goldie TCGs, but they just have a quantity of 1. This is an operation with last save point. They're really taking this seriously because they have 4, 4, 5. They've got a lot of these Sun Titans and they're looking to jack the price up, probably to pad their inventory elsewhere, if I had to give it my best guess. Now let's look at the final card here, Deleina Wild Mage. Now this is another card that, not horrible, but for it to all of a sudden go up, it's not because of the meta, because we know that we haven't seen any spoilers to my knowledge that would justify this going up. It's another card that's, a sub $2 card, going up to 4 within the week. So let's look at the latest sales. Wouldn't you know, we see a high listing of $7.99 multiple times. I think about 5, August 7th and August 8th. If you can get this card, like let's look at that one sale on August 8th, 84 cents. You see another one for $1.65. If you can get this card for either of those prices, why would you spend 8? So it's clearly market manipulation. It goes against anyone's interests to spend $7 more than you have to. Plus, you would also have to convince me that this is a genuine sale to people who want this card, and not just a seller selling it to themselves through another account. They found a loophole, that's good for them, but it's also hilarious because I get to call them out, and I'm having a very fun time doing it. Now you might be saying here, Commander Void, you're just cherry picking here. It's not that bad, it's maybe a couple cards. This is the weekly market trends. These were the top 5 cards I just talked about here. I didn't even go over some of these other ones. You'd probably see similar action. This is why I'm talking about it, because I can't just ignore it now that it's everywhere. The series is usually about prices impacted by current metas and spoiled cards and whatever, but this is actually impacting the market because other sellers are going to see this and they're going to list these cards even higher. The reserved list buyouts are just nothing like this at all, and people complained about those all the time, but those are pretty transparent. You could see them coming from a mile away. What these sellers are doing, they're taking bulk rares, bulk uncommons that do see play, that people still throw into a lot of decks that you would consider a staple, and there's something like 50 cents, they're under $2, and they're giving them this insane premium and jacking up the value like 200, 300%. It's pretty ridiculous, and they're doing that because they have large quantities of the card. As you can see, last save point, they have dozens of these, and they can turn around and sell them to other people when the value goes up. Again, guys, I don't communicate with a lot of people. I did have an affiliation with TCG Player, but it had nothing to do with market values. It was just a promo code, basically. And when I did ever contact someone from there, it was usually just to talk about what promo I would put at the beginning of my video. It had nothing to do with their website. So I would really appreciate it if you guys spread the word. Commander Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.